Zampo, and welcome to a new season of Heart to Heart podcast. I'm Dema and I'll be hosting the new season 4. Today we have Ngawang Choeda, who flew in all the way from Brisbane to join us here at Perth. He's an engineer, policy advisor, and now a registered migration agent in Australia. From managing hydropower projects in Bhutan to guiding migrants through complex Australian visa system, Ngawang's journey is one of the transformation and service. We'll explore his career path, what drives his work, and why choosing a registered migration agent could be a make or a break in your migration journey. So Ngawang, take us back to your beginning. You had an incredible career in energy, infrastructure, and policy in Bhutan, and coming to Australia and becoming a migration agent. Tell us how that journey unfolded.
Thank you, Dema. So yes, like Dema introduced me, I'm Ngawang Choeda, and I have a long story to tell, and hopefully I won't take too much of your time. By background, I'm an electrical engineer, and I worked for the engineering industry for almost 10 years back home in Bhutan, and once I came to Australia, I continued that journey by working with the Department of Environment and Planning and Environment in Sydney. So it was more of a contribution to this side of the world in terms of the engineering qualifications that I had. At the same time, I do remember that in 2017, when I did notice that some of my friends were trying for permanent residency opportunities. It was a bit scary in the sense that we did not really know where to look for. I mean, in terms of we did not know who were the right persons to look for in terms of getting the support, the necessary support for like applying for permanent residency options. And that's where I realized that while there were a lot of non-Bhutanese registered migration agents, it wasn't very easy to approach them in the first place, and it wasn't cheaper as well. And then I did see that there were a lot of opportunities, but again, not much information was out there. You didn't really know whom to approach and how to approach. So I saw this both as an opportunity and something that I could potentially make best use of. Not that I wanted to become a registered migration agent right at that point in time, but I did see that if I could jump into this profession, I could probably do a lot of things for the Bhutanese community, because while I did see that there were a lot of registered migration agents from different nationalities, but for Bhutan, I saw that this was a very new area. Not many people probably were not interested to be a part of this migration industry. And then the journey from there moved on, and then as I applied for my permanent residency, I faced a lot of challenges. I had to do a lot of research. I did not get a lot of help from other migration professionals, mainly because at that point in time I wasn't able to even afford like a decent migration agent. Because if you really look at the migration industry, a lot of migration agents are there, but they charge a lot, and then obviously you have that local language disadvantage at times, where you really can't approach them. And then I remember I approached one Australian migration agent, and sometimes while you do know English to a certain extent, there are communication gaps, and there are differences in terms of the language, in terms of the culture, in terms of how you approach them. So I did see a lot of challenges, and that was what I faced. And my colleagues were facing similar problems in different parts of Australia. And then it struck me that if I had the opportunity to become a registered migration agent, maybe I can make that journey more smoother and help the Bhutanese community. But at the same time, I also did see a business opportunity. So I think both things tied well. Yeah.
That's amazing. And for the Bhutanese viewer, I know that for my migration industry, people who are engaged in migration industry, they know the differences between a registered migration agent and what their roles are. But for most of the Bhutanese, we are not aware. So if you could highlight what it means to be a registered migration agent and what kind of qualification do you need, and as far as I know, you're the only active registered migration Bhutanese agent. So if you could highlight some points on those.
Sure, thank you, Pema. So to become a registered migration agent, unlike in the last few years, one just needed a graduate certificate in Australian migration law in practice. Now things have become a bit more difficult. So to become a registered migration agent, you need to have a graduate diploma in Australian migration law and practice. That's a 1-year full-time online course that different universities provide. Not all universities provide that graduate diploma, only a select few. And to actually complete that course is one big challenge in front of you, because it deals with a lot of legislation, policy related stuff, regulations. So, I mean, if you're from a legal background, maybe it would make things easier. But since I'm from a technical background, it wasn't easy going into that legal side of things. And once you complete that graduate diploma, then there's a capstone exam. Now, the capstone exam is another hurdle. Now, easier said than done. The pass percentage is 65%. And to get 65% is, I would say, it's not easy based on my own experience. I know that some people with legal background can easily get that, but for most of us who are taking that graduate diploma, some of us didn't make it. And that included mostly non-Bhutanese colleagues of mine. I was the only Bhutanese student at that point in time, and I did my graduate diploma from Griffith University. So luckily I passed the exams.
Yay.
And thank you. I think it's a great achievement, because without that exams, without clearing those exams, you can't really practice. And obviously after clearing those exams, you have to again get yourself registered as a registered migration agent. And now, before I forget, sorry, I would like to also address that later part of your question, that what is the difference between what a registered migration agent actually is compared to other agents. Now, if you really look at the migration legislation, the laws and the policy, registered migration agent is one of the authorized persons to provide immigration assistance. Now, people ask, what is immigration assistance? Now, immigration assistance is any kind of support in terms of applying for visa. It could be a student visa, it could be a skilled migration visa, any type of visa where it requires somebody to avail immigration assistance. So now the law, the policy is very clear. If you are an immigration lawyer, so basically a lawyer who specializes in immigration related works, they can help you, and then a registered migration agent can help you. So that's the distinction. Now, I think maybe I might preempt some of your later questions, but I think just to continue with this, I wanted to also emphasize on the fact that we say that student visas are something that education agents can also help international students. But I think that is a bit of a misunderstanding that's out there. Now, as long as it's a visa, whether it's student related or non-student related, immigration assistance is the overall framework that guides different types of visas. So if you're not a registered migration agent or an immigration lawyer, you basically can't provide immigration assistance. And I'll keep it here because I'm sure you have other questions and I might be just jumping onto those answers.
No, it's not a problem. So what's the risk of getting advice from a non-registered migration agent for the client as well as the entity who is giving the advice?
Yes, thank you. So if you get advice from a registered migration agent like me, or for that matter, anyone who is a registered migration out there, whether they are a Bhutanese or not, we have a requirement under the code of conduct to have this continuing professional development. Now, as part of that requirement, registered migration agents have to be aware of all the policy changes, all the legislation changes that happens, because I'm sure you also have been observing a lot of changes happen. Now, for example, the recent, not the recent, but the change in the temporary graduate visa, where people with that age category, that age cap was introduced. So this is just an example to show that changes take place, but such changes are very subtle changes, not in terms of the impact it creates, but in terms of the information that goes out. So there are certain changes like which happens at a very granular level in the legislations and policies, and at times different people interpret in different ways. So when you have an registered migration agent giving you that immigration assistance, he or she is aware of those changes because he or she has that he has that access to those information. So if you compare us with some other non-registered migration agents, the clarity in terms of dissecting that policy change and in terms of how it impacts your future plans, so that's where we bring in the clarity. And that's where we tell them that if you take this pathway, you have this opportunity, and then along with opportunity comes risk. So we, like I say to many of my clients, that it's not that registered migration agents will only tell you about the opportunities. You also need to be aware of the risk. And I think that is something that is very clear in the code of conduct of registered migration agents, that along with opportunities comes risk, and you have to be very transparent to your clients.
I think it's very, very important, and I think we must emphasize how important it is to get a good legal advice and from a registered migration agent. As you've said it, that laws and policies keeps changing, and it's very hard to keep up to date for a layman, and this is your profession. Mm-hmm. So. And I was wondering, so since migration laws in Australia seems to change all the time, and also in both granular level as well as in bigger picture level, so how do you keep up and how do you keep your clients to navigate this uncertainty? If you could give us an example.
Sure, thank you. So I think that's a very good question. There are policy changes happening which have the impacts, it can be like a major one or a minor one. So as migration agents, since we have to keep aware of the different legislation changes, the policy changes, now when we take a client on board, now we sign a service agreement, and in the service agreement, it's quite clear out there that if there are policy changes, we need to keep them informed. For example, like I signed on a temporary graduate visa client who was, say, age 35 and above. And now, because of policy changes, when the government made that age cap, that if you are more than 35 years old, mm-hmm. you will not be eligible for temporary graduate visa. But when I signed that agreement with a client who was, like, say, in his 40s, still under 50, in terms of that policy which existed before. So we make it very clear to the client that policy changes and all are not something that's under the control of registered migration agents. So we tell them that because of this policy change, the service agreement that we signed at that point in time is not going to help you because of that eligibility requirements. But at the same time, as a registered migration agent, we take full stock of the situation and we try to identify other opportunities for the client. We just don't tell them that the opportunity doesn't exist anymore, we will not be able to provide you any service. But we try to see what we can do for that client in the best interest of them.
So what I'm hearing is being transparent with your client is very important, so that they can also understand the pitfalls and the risks of doing the wrong thing, or maybe having some visa breaches and conditions. In your career as a migration agent, have you ever experienced or do you have a list of red flags? Or some risks that we should avoid, or common risks that most of our Bhutanese people are into?
Yes, I think that's again another very good question, because now some people prefer to lodge their own visa application. Some people prefer to lodge their own. For example, if a student visa is refused, they do not want to take a registered migration on board, because they feel that they can just submit
That's
an
me as well.
appeals application.
So convince me.
Yes, thank you. I'll try my best to convince you. And they feel that you can do it. It's not that you can't do it, but just to add on to that, how a registered migration agent, or for that matter an immigration lawyer, will help to bring quality la. For example, let's take the same example where somebody's visa has been refused. Now, if you decide to submit an appeals submission to the Administrative Reviews Tribunal, you will pretty much submit a very simple. Of course, you might have your own justifications as to why your visa should not have been refused. But what we registered migration agents and immigration lawyers do in such a case is that we we reference other cases that have successfully got through the tribunal. So we have to do a lot of case laws ki research la, and we have to see that how we can best justify that the visa should not be refused based on evidences la. We just can't say, okay, student A visa should not be refused because of A, B, and C. We have to justify based on like certain cases in the past where the tribunal has done a positive outcome la. So we have to convince the tribunal that the student visa should not be refused because of certain reasons, and those reasons were also mentioned in some of the earlier tribunal cases in like 2020 gi, 22 gi, just as an example. So that's where the tribunal will take stock of what you submit, because those are all based on evidences and the outcomes that have come out. So we tell them that please get in touch with us so that you can maximize your chance of having a successful outcome for your visa agi and the refusal case la. So you can do it yourself, but if you really want to increase your chances, you should contact registered migration agents or an immigration lawyer.
So since we are talking about the visa refusals and cancellations, and also we have rumors going around that there are lots of visa cancellations and refusals. How true is it, and have you experienced yourself in your actual client migration agent business or life?
Yes, I have some clients, but of course, due to confidentiality reasons, I can't disclose their names or other details. But what is happening at this juncture is that there are a lot of, for example, let's take a student visa, which is pretty common because most of our Bhutanese colleagues are on their student visas. And during the course of their stay in Australia, some of them breach the visa conditions. Now, some of them do not attend classes, and due to that, they keep on getting notices from the colleges, the universities, and at one point in time, the universities even cancel their COE, if the student doesn't pay heed to those notices. So now what happens in such a case is that a student tries to approach us to help submit an appeals admission, submission to the appeals application to the tribunal. Now, as a registered migration agent, it's my responsibility to look at the case and study the whole profile, and then see that whether we really have a chance in terms of getting that merits review, in terms of getting a positive outcome. So in that aspect, sometimes some cases are sort of a dead end lah, because a student has intentionally breached the visa conditions, and they're at a stage where they have stopped attending classes, and even if you make an appeal to the tribunal, it doesn't really merit that appeal lah. So whereas there are some students who are genuinely missing classes because of health reasons, who have actually missed classes not because they wanted to breach their visa condition, but because of health reasons. And then sometimes there are communication gaps between them and the education provider that they study at. So we try to study case by case basis lah. So if a case merits our intervention, we will make sure that that client gets the best shot at making the appeals and submission nila. But if we feel that the student is just making that submission for the sake of doing la, but we are also accountable la, because registered migration agents, we are bounded by the code of conduct. So we just don't want to take a client on board just so that we get some service charges from them and then just pass them through the system la, because we need to appreciate the nagi role. The tribunal gi, time, the tribunal gi, the efforts they make to ensure that everybody gets a fair hearing, but we do not want to waste their time. So we really make sure la, to just ensure that the clients who have the maximum shot at getting a positive outcome are sent through the system la.
I think it's very important to really understand what are the legal obligations, what are your visa conditions, because sometimes, and especially in Bhutanese community, because we're so innocent and we are always driven by what's the common knowledge in the community rather than really going and checking ourselves. So in that case, I'm glad that you're here to express and share what are the do's and the don'ts, and also the importance of getting the legal advice. So since we are talking about the international students, and the hot topic that we have is right now the 35 plus age gap. And as a registered migration agent, and I'm sure you have gone through lots of similar cases, do they have any hope or do they have any chance in this, especially considering that most of our Bhutanese students are doing it in the very last minute? So most likely they have few months or another semester. So in that case, what could they do? Or is there anything they could check on?
Yes. I think you're touching on a lot of important questions. And like I said earlier, policy changes can happen very suddenly. Sometimes you don't expect such things to happen, but it does happen. And I think I need to go back a few months, and the 35 age gap for the temporary graduate visa that you mentioned, a lot of international students, including Bhutanese, have come here expecting that they would avail temporary graduate visa after they complete their studies. But because of those policy changes now, most of them are not eligible. Now, to answer your question, what are the opportunities for them because they're not eligible in terms of age? So I wouldn't say there are not a lot of opportunities, because if you really look at some of the journey taken by some of the students out there. Now, for example, if you are doing a master course, say business related, or for that matter anything else. Now, if you really want to continue your stay in Australia, you're not eligible for TR. Mainly people say TR visa la, TR visa silab mein subclass 485 temporary graduate. So if you're not eligible for that visa because of those policy changes, now what is the next step? Now you really need to invest your time and resources in terms of progressing your educational qualifications. Now, if you have done a Masters of Business, you could potentially think of doing like a research level study related to your earlier Masters, building upon that. Now, people say that it's very difficult for somebody who's on a student visa to get another student visa, mainly because of these policy changes. But I think if you take calculated moves, you will increase your chances to get a student visa, but you need to show the progression. Now, if you have done a Masters of Business and then you're just moving on to a Master of Nursing for that matter, or a Master of some other studies, it doesn't really add value. And that's where the Department of Home Affairs looks at those things very closely from a genuine student requirement perspective. So to increase your chances, you really need to show the progression. And then, I mean, I like to be very honest. Some students are like, I just want to buy some time. Even if I apply for a master of something that's totally not related to the earlier study I've taken, and because of my age, I'm not eligible, I just want to buy some time. If the student visa is refused, I would like to appeal, say. So the system allows you to appeal, but I think that's not the most appropriate way. I think you should maximize your chances of a successful student visa grant. And if that is refused, then you should go down that appeal pathway. Not just take the chance and just apply for any course and then just appeal for the sake of appealing.
And you touched into two interesting points about the appeal that I also wanted to ask, because that has been this recent hot advice in our community, especially in Perth, about how you can buy time by appealing. But we have also heard from registered migration agent as well as lawyers, migration lawyers, that it's not the best course of action, and especially it does not look good on the individual as well as community. So if you could cover something on this to let our viewers more informed, so that they can take more informed decisions.
Yes, La. So like I mentioned earlier now, that's not the right pathway to choose, because appeal, you should only appeal if you feel that it merits an appeal. Now, buying time and all are all secondary. So, my advice to the prospective students who want to continue studying is that you need to build on the next course that shows progression. I mean, now, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of confusion out there. We are now far ahead of the GTE, Genuine Temporary Entrant requirements. Before a student who studies in Australia, or for that matter applies from Bhutan or other places outside Australia, they really needed to show the genuine temporary entrant requirements like that. Okay, I'm coming to study so-and-so course. Once I complete, I'm going to go back to Bhutan or some other country, and I'm going to utilize my skills and knowledge in such a way that it benefits the Bhutanese economy or some other country. But now, since the genuine student requirement has come into place, so the policy requirements is such that you need to only show that you're a genuine student. But people are confused out there. I've seen a lot of education agents very confused, and SOP se labmela. Now people in common language say SOP, which is basically addressing the genuine student requirements. There's no need for you to mention that you have to go back to Bhutan or the country of
even if
origin.
when you're coming from Bhutan.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
So that's something many education agents are not aware, and I wouldn't blame them for that. But it's more like, if you are abreast of the policy and the regulations, you can see that in black and white. You have to convince the Department of Home Affairs that you're a genuine student, and you're studying that because the intent is genuine. So, for example, if similar and the same case, if you have a Master of Business background and you want to do a Master of Nursing, now if you can show that you really do want to do a Master of Nursing because of the value addition of, for example, nursing, registered nurses are quite in demand in Australia. If you can really show that connection between why you wanted to do a Master of Nursing and why you did not value your Master of Business, maybe because everybody is indecisive. Like, for example, I'm an electrical engineer. I think I'm a perfect example for this. I said I became a migration agent. Most of my colleagues are like, what's he doing? He was working at Sydney, doing his professional engineering job, and he switched over to migration. It's more like a passion. Maybe you asked me this question, maybe the answer is coming out now. It's more like a passion. I wanted to help colleagues and also saw a business opportunity, to be very honest. So in that sense, now if you can show that you're a genuine student for nursing and how you really have a passion for nursing, how you can really make a career in nursing, your visa can be Anila granted la. You don't have to show that I'll do the nursing and go back to Bhutan, work in the Jigme Wanchu National Referral Hospital.
That's such a revelation for me.
Yes. So Anidhi, important to understand, and like you, Pema, I think it's very important for others to understand also.
So you touched on so many important points, and because it's a migration, and also with the current scenario, lots of us are looking for advices. What would be the next best course of action? And now we know that first is to get a very good legal advice and get it from a registered migration agent so that you can be up to date with all the new information and the new migration laws that are coming in. And also you covered a bit about how you need to show that you are a genuine student, and it's important. It's not about that following that structure. And I think our community, once again, we just go by examples, learn through their experiences. So to help our students and our viewers who are mostly students here in Australia, how can they prepare to become a genuine student? Of course, looking into the similar course pathway, career pathway, but what are the details in it when you say that you need to show that you're a genuine student? Yeah. Does it mean we need to start looking into publishing a paper, looking into supervisor, or like getting a good grade? What does it constitute to be a genuine student?
Sure. Thank you. I think at times we take a lot of decisions very quickly. So the system here is set in such a way that, for example, I come from Bhutan. I chose to study a bachelor of business, and then I come here, and then I see that in terms of permanent residency opportunities, business is not one of those. The studies that can potentially lead you to a permanent resident opportunity. So it happens because first of all, I think the information dissemination offshore in Bhutan and other countries are not very exhaustive enough, and students can't make that informed decisions. So they are pretty much taking up courses based on the recommendations of the education agents out there. When they come to Australia, they realize that, okay, maybe Bachelor of Business isn't the right career path for me. Maybe I can do, for example, social work, and that's where my passion is. Maybe I can do nursing, that's where my passion is. But again, some people base their passion on the permanent residency opportunity. That's fine, I think. As long as you have a passion and you can align it to the permanent residency opportunities, why not? And even the education ki nalu, the policy la, is very flexible in the sense that you can change your education provider after 6 months of studies here. So that is, in fact, an opportunity for such students who are earlier not very clear on what they actually want to do la. Just because an education agent recommended a certain course, they came here, but then when they came here, they had realized maybe that's not the best option to choose. So policy allows you to change your college or change your course within the same college. But I think at the same time, some people have misused this, the flexibility in the system. So they really don't care about PR opportunity or the pathway. They just want to reduce their tuition fees. Now, such students, when they actually embark on this decision to actually change their education provider and move on to a cheaper college, that sort of triggers the alarm la. And that's where the Department of Home Affairs, because once, for example, a student moving from Murdoch University to a cheaper college, that COE, la, confirmation of enrollment, which I'm sure many students are aware, would be cancelled, but you would eventually have a new COE issued by a cheaper college. But again, now that triggers the Department of Home Affairs. And Department of Home Affairs takes that in different ways lah. One good example I would like to share here is that people say, I changed college and I moved to a cheaper college, but nothing happened. Everything worked out well for me. And then you will have few amongst those people that I changed college, I received a notice from the Department of Home Affairs, and that notice is like an intent to cancel the visa because the department sensed that the student was not a genuine student. He's just coming here with, got enrolled in Modoc and then wants to change college. So those things happens lah. So everybody is treated in a different way. I mean, everybody should be treated equally, but it so happens that the system has its flaws lah. So some students get that notice, some students don't get that notice. But then again, I wouldn't take that risk if I don't have a passion to change that course, because it will give me a good opportunity for PRA, Navanatse, or for that other reasons. I wouldn't just change for reducing the tuition fees, because that itself flags, has that red flag lah, that you are not a genuine student, you got enrolled in Modoc, and you're just changing Modoc to reduce the fees. So this is something we really need to take note of and make sure that we don't take the wrong step.
So do you think in those two examples, maybe it also depends on their background and a little bit of difference, so maybe that's why the triggers are also different, and sometimes we get unlucky.
Yes.
Being the only Bhutanese registered migration agent, and you shared a passion for serving the community, of course we always have the bottom line, our financial stability as well. So since you're the only one registered or active registered migration agent here in Australia, how does this position to serve our community, do you find it unique, or how is this experience for you?
So Pema, just for your knowledge and for others, I am one of the three migration agents, like the Bhutanese migration agents in whole Australia. And I'm equally happy that some other migration agents will come online very soon. So it's not I don't see it from the competitive lens, I see it as an opportunity for registered migrations of Bhutanese origin to come into the scene and help our Bhutanese students and non-students go through different migration opportunities. So at this juncture, I am pretty much the most active lah. I'm sure my colleagues will agree, and one of them is based in Melbourne. He's a close friend of mine, and he is not actively doing migration works lah, because of his own reasons lah, which I do not know, and I don't think that he would like me to disclose also if I knew. So, and the other one is I'm happy, she's a female colleague, and we are in constant touch, and she is in Canberra lah. So I am based in Brisbane, and like I said, after 2-3 months you'll see maybe 2 or 3 migration agents.
That's amazing.
Yes. And then now what is happening is that a lot of Bhutanese out there are approaching non-Bhutanese migration agents. No, I'm not saying that's not correct lah. Once you're a registered migration agent, you have the qualifications, you have the knowledge, you have the expertise to give migration advice. But being from that Bhutanese community and being able to understand the local conditions, having the local language advantage, the culture, the tradition, and we definitely want to help them lah. And one of the reasons why I'm here in Perth also is that I want to collaborate with a lot of consultancies out here, because I know that a lot of Bhutanese people approach these consultancies, but these consultancies are relying again on non-Bhutanese registered migration agents and non-Bhutanese immigration lawyers. So I feel that we can collaborate come together for a bigger purpose, and then help the Bhutanese community lah. I think Perth is a perfect example of how a community lah. I don't know the exact numbers, but I hear that we have 25 to 30,000 Bhutanese here.
That's what they say.
Yes, and I see wherever I have gone in the past few days, I've come across a lot of Bhutanese. I don't see that in Brisbane.
Really?
It doesn't happen. It happens once in a blue moon. You go to a shopping mall, you see like a one or two Bhutanese, and you get shocked. Over here, you just meet Bhutanese everywhere you go. And then I see businesses like Dragon Chef Restaurant doing very well. I'm very proud of the owner. Sorry, I don't remember his name. I met him. And I see how the Bhutanese support each other lah. Now, if he opened up such a restaurant and Bhutanese didn't come to eat his food, I don't think he would be where he is. But again, he saw that opportunity to serve the Bhutanese with Bhutanese delicacies, and at the same time, it turned out to be a good business opportunity for him.
Exactly. And he is also very active in the community, not just him, all the other business owners. And when we do any student activities or any community events, they're always there sponsoring, or they would help us with other things. So it's like, I think Bhutanese here, for most part, I think it's bi-directional, the business and the people are working together.
Yes.
And I think that's why it's really nice that you came here, so that this is one of the biggest Bhutanese community outside Bhutan, and lots of us are lost in terms of migration journey. So you collaborating with other Bhutanese businesses, I think shows a positive sign towards future. And I think also, like for most of the Bhutanese, because culturally we are very shy, we are timid, and we are not that open. It's not that we don't want to talk to other people from other ethnicity. It's just that shyness sometimes comes in between, that builds a wall. So for them, it's always better to go to a Bhutanese migration agent, so that they can really express it clearly without having that language barrier, and also not having to give that context all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
exactly.
I think that's why I think it's very important for the Bhutanese business community to also come together and share your knowledge as well as resources, so that our Bhutanese community can have some hope in the migration world as well. So thank you so much for coming here and trying to share your expertise, knowledge on how we should navigate through it. And for most of the students here in Perth, they're like trying to go into research or do a PhD or master's by research. And I have heard several times that there are different kinds of master's degree that you need to take so that you are eligible for graduate fees. Is that true?
Sorry, I didn't get the last
So
part.
like the master's degree, so in here, some of the universities are offering for like 18 months, say. Some of them are offering for 24 months. But I was told that if you do a 18 months master's degree, then you are not eligible for the graduate visa.
Oh, yes, sorry. Oh, yes. Now I got your thing. So, as per the requirements now, if you, I'm not sure if you're aware of the Krakowski code, the Krakowski, the Commonwealth Register of Education Providers. So, in that register, you have courses that span from like as low as 26 weeks to as much as like 104 weeks. So, as per the policy, as long as your Krakos code is a registered course for 92 weeks lah. So
92 weeks.
92 weeks. We do often tend to go with 104 weeks because it's that 2 year more, 1 year and 52 weeks, and then we multiply 52 into 204. But as long as the Krakos code is registered for a duration of 92 weeks, you are eligible for the post-ANILA temporary graduate visa that you were mentioning about.
How long does it take for a student to prepare that whole transition from, say, getting the proposal done to applying visa and getting the visa?
So when you say proposal, are you talking about that master's
Yeah,
by
the research.
research?
So, like for a student, so for example, right now I'm above 35,
Right.
and I'm doing a coursework. So now I need to transition into a research so that I can secure another visa and potentially a graduate visa and end of that research.
Okay, yes. So if you are above that age category, which basically limits you from applying for that temporary graduate visa, now, like I mentioned, the only way forward is to apply for like a master's by research and a PhD, and for pursuing all those opportunities, I'm sure you know, but just for the information of others who know, if you know, it's a refresher. If you don't, this is new information. You need to, like get in touch with supervisors. You need to have a research proposal. So there's a drill. There's a drill which you are probably aware of, and it's not that it's not good. It's going to work out for everybody, because it also depends on your education provider. It also depends on the education provider's research areas. So you could have like a background, for example, masters of business again. Now, if that university doesn't have a research in business but has research in other non-business areas, I think then you're probably not a good fit in that university. So you move your search to other universities which have like a business focused research. And likewise, if you really want to go down that pathway, I would say it's not easy lah. But again, I am not advocating for that consultancy, but I do know that there are Bhutanese registered consultancies who can provide you that support lah, in terms of making your journey easier lah, to go through that pathway, like looking for a supervisor, matching your research interest with available universities out there. So there are consultancies who help you avail those sila.
So just to make your journey a little bit easier, right?
Yes,
Because it's
yes.
such an ordeal, the whole from writing
Yes.
the proposal to getting matched with supervisor or looking for supervisors. So yeah, that's a long journey. But thank you for that support. And for coursework, like people who are doing coursework here, for example, for an engineer, if I want to get a skilled assessed, then I know that I can go to Engineers Australia, get my degree or experience skill assessed, and then potentially look for a PR pathway or PR in a skill assessed point-based category. But and then the second majority, I guess, in Bhutanese community are our teachers cohort. So for them, do they also have that kind of opportunity to skill assess their experiences and their degrees? And most of them are doing their master's degree here for education. So if you're a teacher with 9 to 10 years of experience and you come here in Australia and you're doing a master's of advanced education, what kind of pathway do they have, considering that most of them are above 35?
Yes. So engineers, like it's very straightforward. I don't want to delve too much into the engineers occupation, because it's a very straightforward pathway. You have your engineering qualification, and then you get your skills assessed, like you rightly mentioned, by Engineers Australia. And it doesn't really matter whether you have had work experience in the past or you have a work in Australia, because you can always get your qualifications assessed. Now on the teachers, I think on the teachers, and it's a bit of a different story. Now the requirements are so, I wouldn't say so stringent, but I would say that the requirements, especially the English proficiency levels, you need to have like speaking, the listening, nalu 8 in IELTS academic.
Really?
Yes. So it's more like a requirement that you can't really skip that requirement by doing a PTE or a TOEFL. While you actually have that qualification based on your experience in Bhutan, you have done a Bachelor of Education, you have done postgraduate diploma, you may have that education qualification, but then the English requirements, I know many students who have sort of got their bachelor's degree done back home in Bhutan, and they tick all the boxes in terms of the qualification, but they have not been able to clear that English proficiency requirements, and that has been a major set down. Now, I'm sure you must have heard about that graduate diploma of early childhood teaching. So now, what some of those prospective the students are doing is they're switching over to the graduate diploma the early childhood teaching, because I think it's more like the demand and supply scenario. Now there's a lot of demand for teachers both at the pre-primary, primary, secondary level. So especially for the early childhood teacher, pre-primary level, there's a lot of demand. So that is why they made that changes in the skills assessment requirements, that if you do a graduate diploma 52 weeks course, you need not have to demonstrate your English proficiency skills by doing that 8 in listening and speaking.
Oh, so sorry to interrupt,
No problem.
if you're doing a master's degree, so could you go to a diploma graduate then?
Yes, you can. You
Oh.
can avail that opportunity. Yeah.
I think that's very important for most of the Bhutanese viewer, because we always think that we cannot downgrade it if you're doing a master's degree.
No,
then
you can. You can downgrade in the sense that if you have a visa and you are like studying masters of teaching, for example. Now, if you want to do a graduate diploma, you would have to apply for another visa. lah. Now, if you're doing a masters of teaching and if you want to drop that master of teaching and do a graduate diploma, then it's an issue,
Okay,
because you
so-
can't drop that level.
Oh, so you could do it concurrently, but not use that for the visa
Correct.
purpose. Okay, so it's sad to know that the most barrier that we are having is the language, but it's understandable, because for most of the Bhutanese, English is not just second language; it's
Yes.
fourth or fifth language. So I think it's understandable. But have you experienced people who have higher IELTS or who can obtain higher IELTS score? But then were able to have a positive skill assessment as a teacher?
So honestly, I have got a lot of successful stories in terms of civil engineers, in terms of electrical engineers, in terms of registered nurses, few non-technical professional backgrounds. But I have never had I've never had like a client who had a teaching background and who navigated and managed to get that English requirements lah.
Oh, okay. So that would be interesting with your
Yes.
endeavor in Perth, because we have a huge teacher cohort, especially in my university, in Editcoin University. In one of our campus, it's
Right.
really just the Bhutanese teachers who are, I think, mostly above 35 age cap, so that they're looking into transitioning into either research or getting the skills assessment done, and most of them were interested in it, so I thought I would take the opportunity
Right.
for them. What do you think most of your Bhutanese clients would know or do research before meeting you? Or do you expect, or do you accept us just to come see you?
Okay, thank you, Pema. So I think if somebody really wants support in terms of like applying for a student visa, or for that matter, he or she needs to change a college, it is okay. He or she can just walk in, because that's pretty straightforward, and the consultation can be very simple and not a very complicated process. But now, if somebody wants to really explore migration related opportunities, and it would be good for them to actually understand how this migration landscape looks like. But again, when I say that how that migration landscape looks like, they should be aware, Silaptalu, it's not necessary for them to know the nitty-gritties, but they should at least know that what they want to get from a migration agent. Because the way I frame my consultations are that I ask them to visit the website. There's a booking link, and it's a paid consultation. Now, I'll come back to why it's a paid consultation. I'm not just trying to take money for the sake of taking money, but there is a valid reason for that. Now, when somebody wants to get some migration advice, I make sure that the booking is not done 2 days in advance. So if you make a booking today, the system won't allow you to get an appointment today or tomorrow, but it will be 2 days later. The reason being that when I have that booking link, the person needs to submit his or her CV and then also detail out what they expect out of this consultation. So that sort of gives me that clarity, that initial clarity in terms of having a look at the CV and also understanding what the client's requirements are. These are helpful because I can do a quick CV scan. I can see what migration opportunities are there for them. And then when I actually have that consultation, it's a more tailored, more customized, more benefiting consultation. But I have also come across clients who don't want to do all this information sharing and they just want to drop by, which is okay, but it takes more time to have have the client sit in front of you, explain his or her education background, qualification, what he expects out of that consultation. So it sort of wastes his time and my time as well. But my intent is to, get value out of that consultation because it's a paid consultation. And by the way, it's a 30-minute paid consultation. So I want a client to get the maximum value for his money. So that's the reason I structure my consultation that way.
So what's a process like if I go to you? So the 30 minutes consultation, I do booking, and then 2 days I try to give my reason why I want to come to you or what I'm looking from this consultation. And then I have consultation with you, and you'd most likely tell me what are my best options out of it, depending on what I am looking for. And then what happens next?
So what happens next is, now if, for example, you have a qualification or you're studying something that is a potential occupation that can help you get migration opportunities. So then the next steps are that you either need to get your skills assessed. So I tell them that, for example, you're coming to me for consultation. I've looked at your CV. I've looked at what you really want to get out of this consultation. And then once I map it out, then I tell you, okay, you can get a positive skills assessment outcome. But again, it's not that every client who will come to me will get a positive skills assessment, because if you look at their CV and if they do not fulfill the requirements of what the successful skills assessment requirements are, I tell them upfront that with your qualifications, with your experience, you don't fulfill the eligibility requirements of a successful skills assessment. But if you get, for example, local experience, getting a job in Australia, and you work like 1 or 2 years, whatever that requirements are, then maybe that's how you can get a positive skills assessment outcome. So different clients are at different levels. Now, just for example purpose, somebody who has the required qualifications, required work experience, then I recommend them that if you get your skills assessed, and then I also take them to the next level. Like I tell them, okay, if you can get your skills assessed, okay, what are your opportunities? The PR githekalu. Now there are a lot of PR opportunities like skill independent visa 189 and the state ki nominated 190 491 subclass visa disu. So depending on where they are, and see, you know that most students are based in Western Australia, and Western Australia state nomination is one of the most attractive state migration programs out there, because it gives opportunities for people staying in Western Australia and at the same time to those who are not living in Western Australia. But other states, most of them, they prefer applicants to be staying in that particular state. So in that sense, I tell them that, okay, if you are going to participate in, for example, 189 visa, this has been the trend. For example, civil engineer. There are invitation rounds every quarter, but at times it gets a bit delayed. It all depends on how the slot availability is. So I show them the past trend. I show them that the past trend nalu, civil engineer has got invited at say 85 or 95, and then I do a quick points calculation for the client, and I tell them, okay, your points are good or your points are not good, because like I mentioned earlier, I don't want to give them false promises. You may have an occupation which is on the PR list, but if it's not working out for you, I just want to make it very clear and tell them that I don't think it's going to work out for you. It's very competitive. And then I also look at other state nominated visas like 190 and 491. If there is an opportunity, I tell them, yes, you can lodge your expression of interest, but if it's very competitive, I tell them that you can, but the likelihood of getting an invitation is less. But if you still want to proceed, I can help you. But please be aware, because I have had clients in the past who have chased me because they haven't received invitation, and that is despite telling them that it's very competitive. It's very likely that you won't get an invitation. But clients at at that point in time, they acknowledge that, but when they don't get invitation, they get stressed out, and then they stress me out. So now I'm also learning. It's a learning process. I make it clear in my service agreement that this is what is potentially likely to happen for clients' occupations that are very competitive. But for example, if you have done Master of Social Work, or for that matter, if you have done the same graduate diploma in early childhood teaching, the current invitation round points are at 70 lah. So if you can hit 70, the likelihood of invitation is very high. So Hanibindigi, it is important sometimes for us to have that in our service agreement, so that we are saving ourselves also lah. Because it's not just protecting the interests of the client, we have to protect our own interests also, because we come across a lot of clients lah who act very innocent in the initial stages, but they get too frustrated, not because we have done a mistake, but because they are not getting that invitation, their visas are running out. So it's sort of a two-way traffic lah.
Yeah, visa process can be very stressful. I still remember, though, I was reassured that my student visa application is really good and that I would get it easily, but it's still nerve-wracking when you're waiting for it. And I'm sure when I'm applying for my graduate visa, though I know that I'm almost eligible from all grounds, I would have the same stress again. And now I cannot imagine for those people whose options are either deemed or like they don't have the same opportunities. So it's understandable, but at the same time, I've also worked on the other side. So sometimes a client can be unreasonable at times. And we like to call it professional stalkers. So because it's migration, we could never end questions. There's just so many questions that personally I am also interested in knowing, as well as I'm sure viewers are also interested to know, especially because of the current situation, as well as the lack of knowledge and the lack of quality advice and quality suggestions, I guess, within our community. So thank you once again for joining us here at Perth. And just to end up, I want to ask you a fun question so that we can get away from all this stressful visa and cancellation and refusal. So what's a visa subclass number you will never forget?
That's a fun question, but a difficult question also. But my journey began like few years ago, and I would say a visa that I would not forget is the student visa, subclass 500, because
the iconic.
I, along with my team, have helped a lot of students to embark on this journey all the way from Bhutan, and some of them are doing very well here. So I would say subclass 500 student visa is something that's close to my heart.
That's such a good answer, because most of us actually started our journey here in Australia, building Australian dream with S500, right?
Yes,
like,
yes.
I'm sure like 90% of us, don't quote me on that. But and another question, if you could invent a new visa category, what would it be called and who would it help?
Okay, another fun question, but a tricky one.
Yes.
Okay. If I had the power Like they say, if you're
All
a
the
king
power in
for
the
a
world.
day and
Yeah.
you could like make rules, I would definitely introduce a visa that would give you the work rights equivalent to your occupation. Because the way I look at permanent migration visas, for example, a civil engineer, he or she gets permanent residency through his or her occupation, but there's no like a job. I mean, the building and construction sector needs more civil engineers. That's why civil engineers PR opportunities there. But once you get that visa, there's nothing like a check and balance. Like, is that civil engineer working as a civil engineer, or is he like somewhere in a warehouse or driving Uber? So if I was king for a day, and I could make such visas overnight, I would introduce a visa which sort of tags you to your occupation and make sure that you are employed in the profession for which you got that permanent residency visa.
Excellent, excellent. I think it would actually help lots of us. So I hope you become a king for one day,
Sure.
in like in that movie, the Indian movie Anil Kapoor's movie.
Yes, yes, definitely.
That was fun. Yeah. In the closing reflection, would you like to highlight something that you're really proud of, but normal people would overlook because we are not from that industry or we wouldn't have that knowledge necessarily?
Yes, I think we're almost towards the end of the session, and I would definitely say that the migration industry is a very interesting industry, and at the same time, it's very complicated. It's not very easy to navigate, but it is worth it. And like I mentioned earlier, some of our Bhutanese colleagues are already there, about to get their registration. So I'm happy that more people from the Bhutanese community are exploring this migration opportunity as a profession, and I think it's not a competitive threat to me, but I feel that we can serve our Bhutanese community well, because the numbers are quite low. Like I said, there are only 3 right now, and if more join us, we can definitely serve the Bhutanese community. And it's more like a community sort of togetherness that we can, hope to bring to the Bhutanese community. And everybody is equally qualified out there, whether you're a Bhutanese or a non-Bhutanese. I'm not saying come to Bhutanese because we are more qualified, we know more, but I feel that we need to maintain that harmony and community, togetherness. And that's where I think we can help you serve better and make things, more easier than the normal.
The things that we talked about, the cultural differences and other things, language barrier as well, makes it much easier to communicate to another Bhutanese.
And in addition, before I forget, sorry, so if you look at other non-migration agents, for example, somebody from Nepal, you can see that they have that bonding with like Nepal-based students, like Nepal origin students. So they have that, community, like harmony, togetherness. So this is something I sometimes don't see in our Bhutanese community. I'm not complaining, but I feel a bit jealous when I see other countries vibe well, and then we see our own, Bhutanese community vibe well, but not so much in such, service-related industries. So I think we have an opportunity, and I would love to see that day when we all come together, and then I would actually feel that I gave up my engineering profession for migration, and I did a good thing.
Yeah, I think we will get there. It's also high time that we have more migration experts in our field, because it's one of the most important part of you being an immigrant is walking through this visa journey and going through all the migration law, and especially in Australia, it's so important to have someone that is like yourself, so that we don't get swayed away with bad advices. Because I used to live in Portugal, and the visa laws are sort of stagnant. It doesn't change as much, and it used to be much friendlier, so we did not have to worry as much. But in here, I've seen it firsthand how important it is to stay up to date and really get the actual information and not just biases and myth. And coming back to the student and enterprises working together, we as a student also, we aspire to see businesses and students come together because our Bhutanese businesses has the number, our Bhutanese clients, and our Bhutanese can also avail our enterprise services and support, and there are so many, but how do we bring them together, right?
Yes.
I think it's not just up to one party. I think both of us, like both of the entities, needs to come together and work together and have more events. For example, in our university, PMP, another immigration agent from, I think, Bangladesh, I don't remember. They do events at our university so that they can get in touch with their client base.
Right.
So there are this kind of avenues as well that we can look into in future together.
Definitely.
And if you have any last thoughts or things that you would like to share before we sign off.
Yes, nothing much to say, but thank you, Pema, for giving me this opportunity to come in front of the public. To be very honest, this is my first talk show, and hopefully I have answered your questions, and I look forward to closely collaborating with you and for other, just like I mentioned, with other Bhutanese consultancies out here with a common purpose to help our Bhutanese community navigate through all these migration challenges, because along with challenges there are opportunities, and I really look forward to this, and hopefully I can carry on with this in Brisbane as well. Perth is a good starter, and obviously it is where most of the Bhutanese are, so it's a good start, and hopefully I can maintain this momentum as I move forward. Yeah.
I think you will, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I think it's your success is our community's success, so that we can go do the right thing. We can do everything without breaching any conditions, because breaching visa conditions are very serious, and I think it's very important that we stress it to our public and let them know so that we are all safe and do the right thing. Thank you once again,
Thank
Ngawang,
you.
for joining us
Thank
here
you
in
so much.
Perth, and hope to see you in person as well as online in
Sure,
future case.
definitely.
So how can we contact you?
Since I represent Happiness Education and Migration Services, we have a website, and I have also started using TikTok now. And one of the reasons was that TikTok is a good platform for different age groups. And obviously, I'll share the details later. But yes, you will see our visibility on the social media platforms like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram also.
Okay,
Yeah.
so please find Ngawang Choeda on your Instagram, TikTok, and any social media that you follow. And hopefully everyone will do the right thing and get the right advices. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Pema.
Thank you so much, sir.